let's get into Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion for season 2, part 1. Came on last night, and I have to say, I have some thoughts. Usually for a reunion part 1, we don't typically start getting into, I don't know, the back and forth, if you will. It's kind of light. And then towards the middle or maybe the end, we start to kind of ramp it up, if you will, with the drama or like the back and forths. But last night, it was really clear that all the ladies, they had a motive. And this is how I saw it. I really think that a lot of them knew, that Mary wasn't showing up, as much as they all sat there and pretended like, oh, wait, she's not coming for real. I do think that they were told ahead that she wasn't going to show. Maybe not super ahead of time, but definitely while they were getting ready. I can't imagine that they all just assumed that she was going to show up. So with that, I think because Mary was not going to be at the reunion, there was no one to really go after. And so that's where we kind of bring in Lisa Barlow, who we know has had what I think is probably an outstanding season, if I might say so myself. I think Lisa Barlow in season 1 versus Lisa Barlow in season 2, there's definitely an evolution. I will say that I wasn't a huge fan of Lisa Barlow in the beginning, but as season 2 started and as it kind of ramped up, I have to say, Lisa, Baby Gorgeous, has my heart. She's really proving to be an essential, iconic housewife in the making, if I can say that. I know some of you will disagree with me, and that's okay. We all have our people that they grow on us, or we love them, or we love to hate them. But Baby Gorgeous is just delivering. She's delivering. And yes, I see what you guys are saying. She stirs the pot. She did things that were very two-faced. But isn't that what a housewife is supposed to do? I mean, listen, I will take the messiness, the pot stirring, if you will, and leave the legal drama off, because I honestly feel like that type of stuff, when you start bringing in legal issues, that's where it starts to get really heavy. And there's a lot of dancing you got to do, because if it's a legal situation, like in Erica's or Jen's situation, you can ask questions, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a straight answer. And sometimes those questions aren't allowed to be answered because of, legal reasons. And if there's a court case going on, or there's a trial of anything like that, then that's definitely a hands-off situation. So yes, back to Lisa Barlow. I do think that this reunion is going to be all about coming after Lisa Barlow. Now, did she set herself up a little bit here with, the rant and, the hot mic moment, if you will, even though we know it's not, she wasn't mic'd and mic was not on, it was a boom mic, but we're still calling it a hot mic moment. So I'm just going with it. She knows, okay? She knows, I think she ultimately knew going into this reunion that they were going to come after her. She's not dumb. She knows how this goes. And if you remember, I did post a TikTok where Lisa Barlow has been featured in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when she was at Kyle Richards' store opening, the first one. And, so she has a little bit of a legacy in Bravo world already. So to me, I think she knows I think she understands the assignment. I really, really do. And she's smart, because she's giving just enough, but then pulls back. So she's not over the top crazy. Like, when they were at Zion and she went off, like that was probably peak for Lisa Barlow in terms of like letting it all hang out to dry. Obviously I know drinking was involved, and that helps, kind of push that energy along. However, in the reunion, it just seemed like for instance, Heather and Whitney, like I love watching them. I love Heather and Whitney on the show. Do not get me wrong. But it's like they're clearly tag teaming against her. They want to kind of point the finger. And here's my theory. I really think, and this says a lot about the cast, if this is true, because again, this is my own theory, but I'd love to hear yours, is what if the cast is purposefully doing that to kind of take the attention and stuff off of Jen because of her looming trial. Like, I know that's too easy of an ask. I know that's something that maybe would be out of the question. How would production not pick up on that? But I do think there's a way in which you can do things and still keep a lot of the heat off of the one person. Because if I'm honest, watching Salt Lake City this season with the whole Jen situation versus watching Beverly Hills last season with Erica and all the stuff that she was dealing with. And yes, the two casts are different in one way. Salt Lake City didn't really hound on Jen the way that the cast in Beverly Hills hounded, Erica about her situation. I do think that there is a difference between the two. Now, obviously, a lot of people seem to think that Jen, like, just in general, is handling it with a little bit more humor, if you will. I think that kind of lightens the mood because it is such a heavy situation that she's dealing with. However, with Erica, I think what went wrong is, since we've met her on Housewives, she's been inherently cold, as PK said it. But in all honesty, she does come off cold. She doesn't seem like she has empathy for anyone. She only cares about numero uno. And that's what makes it hard to digest Erica and her situation, in my opinion. So when you look at like this reunion, where it's like Andy even comes up to Jen in the beginning and says, just so you're aware, Erica didn't receive any of the reunion questions ahead. So I just want to put that out there. So he wanted to clarify, because there were some hearsay going around Twitter saying that, Erica got access to her reunion questions beforehand. She got to review them with her legal team. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that Erica didn't get to see her questions, or maybe not all of them, but there were specific questions either that she knew of, or she was flat out clear with them to say, you can ask it, but I can't answer it, so don't waste your time, kind of thing. Whereas Jen, I feel like Jen has put all of her eggs in her legal team's basket. She's just kind of going with the flow and doing her best. That's what I read off of Jen versus like Erica. Erica didn't really have a sense of humor, and her sense of humor towards the end of last season was really like dark and like weird. Whereas Jen is like, I can still laugh at things that she says and does. Now, I'm not saying that that means I co-sign on anything that she's doing or allegedly has done. But at the same time, I can still stomach watching her. I think the other part of that is, we don't know Jen as long as we know Erica on TV. If she had done this in season 4, season 5 of Salt Lake City, I think we would have a different tune to sing with her. But I think with Erica, because she came out the gate so showy and like big and over the top, larger than life, there was a lot of people waiting in the shadows for her demise, if you will. And I think there are some people that are just hating Erica to hate her, or just hating Jen Shah to hate Jen Shah, versus just looking at the situations and saying these are two wrong situations. One housewife is tied to it through her husband. The other one is the ringleader. And so it's all on her. So those are some things that I always kind of go back and forth with. And I kind of figured it was going to be interesting watching this season of Salt Lake City just because of that. But as far as Mary not being at the reunion and the things that were mentioned, as to why she didn't come, because she didn't like the way that her church was being spoken about and this, that, and the other, all those things tie into just wanting to duck out before it gets too hot. I think Mary knew that everything was going to get mentioned at the reunion. Everything, because Mary knows that people have been talking about this stuff. She may play like she doesn't know, but she reads stuff. I know she's seeing stuff. I know that she sees that, Adam interviewed her mom. I know that she is aware that these things are being talked about. And so I think had she had gone to the reunion, she would have had to answer to some things because there's a lot of questions. So she's not there. The ladies have no one else to go after. So it's clear Lisa is going to be an easy one to do that with because Lisa, to be fair, has done things that kind of set it up for her to like look a certain way. And I know sometimes editing plays somewhat of a role in that, but I think the rant, the hot mic moment, the boom mic situation is what got her in this really hot water. See, this is where we're going to really see how she kind of can recover because we know they're filming season 3 already. So, but you know, we'll have to keep watching the reunion. But I thought it was really interesting too. And I don't mean to sound insensitive, but when Meredith went into her little breakdown of why she was the way she was and her like emotional story about how she had a lot going on with her family, I do understand that there are certain things that she's not going to be able to talk about on the show because it's not, to her point, it's not her story to tell. So like that, for an example, would be like if I was on a reality show and something really close to home was happening, but it doesn't necessarily involve just me. Let's say it involves a family member of mine and they're going through stuff. I can't talk. I mean, I could, but if you have respect for the person in your family or whoever it is, you don't bring that up on a national platform and make it a storyline for a bunch of people that don't know these people. You know what I'm saying? So I think Meredith had the right idea. I just think she should have expressed it a little bit differently. But obviously, like she lost her dad. And as someone who's lost their dad almost 2 years ago, you go through stuff. I think anybody who's lost a parent or anyone that they love, you go through these periods when it happens and you don't even realize that you're in such a dark space sometimes because you're just trying to process through. Excuse me. But I honestly think that some of that was a little bit of a scapegoat and a little bit of saving face for Meredith. But what did you guys think? I want to hear what your thoughts are on part 1 of the reunion. I was going to touch on the Jenny situation, but honestly, she was making my blood boil watching her just talk about, you know, race and what's racist and how this is like offensive. Obviously, like we know that the reunion was filmed before those Facebook posts surfaced. So hence why they put the disclaimer at the very beginning of the episode. But I just couldn't stomach watching her. So I didn't really cover anything that she talked about because she's not on the show anymore in my mind. So, but yes, let me know, please. What did you think? Do you think that Lisa Barlow is going to have to carry the weight of this reunion on her back? Because I want to know. Justice for Baby Gorgeous.